Welcome to the Daily Coffee Pro by Mapper Forward, friends. I'm your host, Lee Safar, and this is a series about preparing for 2023. This is episode 4 of that 5-part series, and today we're talking about profits versus people, or people versus profits. Whichever way you're looking at the world, that is the balance that we are going to be talking about today. So, let's do it. This episode of the podcast is brought to you by Coffee Newsbreak, your place for condensed global coffee industry news, events, and resources posted daily. Find Coffee Newsbreak on Instagram at Coffee Newsbreak or check the show notes for details. So the balance between profits and people is a tedious one. And we live in a time where, if you listened to my conversations with the fabulous Kira Kennedy, you will see that we are in a time of transition where profits and people are both a hot topic right now, but very few people are able to figure out what the right balance as leaders is when it comes to profits or people. And you can kind of see the two sides of the coin. If business owners focus too much on people, then they don't have enough time to focus on profits. And if people are focusing too much on profits, well, you're sending a signal to your people that they don't matter. And all that matters is the profit that you're making. And that's not going to be a recipe for success as Gen Z ages more and more into the industry that we're in. Why? Well, because the way that they are participating now is by saying, you know what? If you're going to treat me with respect, I need this job, so I'm going to quietly quit. It's a protest. And this protest is something that we need to be focusing on and paying direct attention to in our industry. Why? Well, because the more people that quietly quit, the more strain it's going to be on putting on business owners. The more strain we put on business owners, the more likely they are to quietly quit. And I can tell you folks, I am seeing that left, right, and center in my consulting work. I am seeing business owners saying, you know what, Lee, this is so hard. This is getting way harder than it's ever been. And I wish I could quietly quit, they say. And I get it. I absolutely get it. We are faced with a situation in this industry, and I heard this a lot at MICE. Specialty coffee is no longer an industry. Specialty coffee is an expensive hobby. And I cannot tell you how many people said that to me at MICE. And it's really stuck with me as I've been thinking about this upcoming series of live workshops. Because if specialty coffee is an expensive hobby, then when is that expensive hobby going to be something that people lose interest in as the economy gets more challenging next year and the year after that? Well, people are going to just decide that this is not for them unless they have a big money pit, and they're not going to care anyway. So we have a really important question to ask ourselves. Whether we're an employee or we're a business owner, we have a really important question to ask ourselves moving into 2023. How do we strike the balance between people and profits? How much can I require the owner of the business I'm working at, or the leader of the business that I'm working at? How much can I require them to prioritize people over profits? And am I asking too much of them? If I'm a business owner, how do I make sure that I have enough empathy for the people that are working for me, that I'm not always prioritizing profits over people? And am I aware of what this is going to look like if I don't start thinking about what it's going to be like for my business and for my people, as well as my customers, if I continue to prioritize profits over people and eventually my staff leave? If you're not going to ask yourself those questions now, what's going to happen is you're going to be doing like what I'm seeing happen significantly at the moment, where people are like, I don't understand what happened. My staff just left, or they're lazy. They're just quietly quitting. Well, look, there's a symptom there that we're not paying attention to. And as in the quiet quitting episode that I released about a month ago, we are in a moment where our workforce is telling us something. They are protesting, and we created this environment as an industry. We created an environment that has left them feeling that the only option they have left is to show up and do the bare minimum. Now, the alternative of that, and what I would hope that business owners in every industry would be aspiring to, is to hire people who are actually very excited to work for them and are passionate about what they do, and you reward that passion. Is it extra work? Yeah, it's a lot of extra work. Is it worth it? Yes, for everybody. But the reason that model falls over a lot of the time is because we don't put enough energy or effort into doing the necessary work for sales strategy. So we're sitting there panicking about, I'm not going to make enough money, but I don't really have a strategy for making sure that I have a plan to make enough money. How about we bring the whole team on board to what the strategy is for the year, which would require us to actually have a plan and a strategy for the year. So it's important that you figure out, how do you strike the balance between people and profit, and what role are you going to play in your own business or in your own career about being sensible about achieving that balance. We have a series of workshops coming up that I think will help for that. As I said in early episodes, the first one is Barista and Beyond. The second one is Becoming a Coffee Consultant. And the third one is Custom Acquisition Planning. I would recommend that you consider taking all of those if you want to get food for thought, as well as practical and technical skills about creating the kind of strategies that are needed to strike a balance between people and profits, so that everybody in your ecosystem can conspire to each other's success. I hope this has been helpful, friends. Peace, love, and peanut butter. Thanks for tuning in, friends. There are 2 ways you can support this podcast. Firstly, become a paid member of our YouTube channel. Secondly, you can join our Patreon for as little as $3 a month. Don't forget to subscribe and like this video before you leave, and check the show notes for more information. Now, this is what you should check out next.